In all the years that I've known Ethan, he's only been serious about 2 women.
That's the pattern, isn't it?
I'm the reason she's dead.
Dead Reckoning Part 1 is really good, but not that good. It wasn't especially good enough to drive tons of people to the theater. I bet most people that saw it were not unhappy, not even disappointed, but there wasn't enthusiasm behind it. And not only because it had to compete with a once-in-a-decade phenomenon. The movie is plagued with a myriad of the kind of subtle issues you don't notice in a first watching, but your brain does. The first and biggest of those subtle issues is... In a story you have many narrative levels. You are telling an overall story from start to end, and then part by part. Sequence by sequence, scene by scene, beat by beat, action to action, micro-action to micro-action. You know what you are signing for when you go watch a Mission Impossible movie. Overall, Ethan Hawke is going to win. The important thing is how he gets there. And Tom Cruise has built the franchise pretty much on the how. Predictability on the macro is not a problem, if you are honest with your audience, and Cruise and McQuarrie are. At the micro level, beat by beat, lies the biggest strength of Dead Reckoning. Inside any scene, dynamics are changing all the time. The movie keeps you on the edge of your seat, not how Fallout does it, but in a more shifting way. Which is what this particular movie needs, so that its much longer sequences don't feel that long. Fallout was about keeping tension, Dead Reckoning is about moving the tension around without losing it, and the movie mostly succeeds at it. So there is no bad predictability on the beat-by-beat level either. The issue comes at the intermediate level, between sequences. Something happens in this perfectly paced sequence with her, and you know that later on there's going to be a perfectly paced sequence in which Ilsa is going to die and Grace is going to take her place, if this subtle foreshadowing wasn't clear enough.
One way or another, this mission of yours is gonna cost you dearly.
And as you're watching this other perfectly paced sequence, Ilsa dies. And the perfect pacing loses its effect, because everything feels predictable, even if you are going through several unexpected changes all the time at the beat-by-beat level. Even if you signed for a predictable final outcome, in the broader perspective, at this secondary level, the plot is predictable, and that taints and deflates everything else. You don't know only that Ilsa is going to die and Grace is going to take her place. At the same sequence-by-sequence level, you know, your brain does, how it's going to happen. Grace and Ethan start a game of trust, then you know Ethan is going to earn that trust in the final action scene of the movie. The bad guy says one or the other has to die, then you know the sequence where Ilsa is going to die will put both Ilsa and Grace in danger, and Grace is going to survive. There is a wider narrative level I didn't mention before, a franchise level. Although not everybody that went to see Dead Reckoning saw the entire franchise, I don't need to pull off any statistic to know most had seen at least a couple of them. So maybe they couldn't win a big fat quiz about Mission Impossible, but they knew enough. They knew we all know, even if we don't think about it, about
The pattern.
Ethan has a love interest that he needs to keep away for her own good. The moment Hallie Atwell appears on the screen, 2 things happen to you. First, no matter your gender or sexual orientation, and second, even in that mindless state, you can tell she's going to be the next one in that pattern. Not only you can't predict Ilsa is going to die, but you, or your brain at least, gets a huge alarm reminding you that Ilsa was just the previous character fulfilling that narrative purpose. This charismatic, capable, multifaceted person becomes a lifeless set of lines in a script, as much as they tried with the AI taking over communications, with imaginative fight scenes, and a perfectly executed sequence overall, with perfectly paced moving parts, there was no tension here. Because while Tom Cruise is running, a part of you is thinking that you knew the end of this sequence. It's going to be late and Ilsa's going to die, so Hayley Atwell take her place. And you're vaguely aware you knew it back here already. You knew it twofold, because of the predictability at the sequence level and also at the franchise level. As a consequence of that double predictability too, this moment doesn't land hard enough. Not only because you knew it would happen, but because, on the back of your head, you already discounted Ilsa as a puppet of the script and not a person. This is how you can have an awesome movie that feels underwhelming. From a competency standpoint, That Reckoning is one of the best movies of the year, but it didn't bring anything that new to the table and had to compete with three unique things: a corporative product that was actually good, an engaging 3-hour-long somber and ponderous biopic, and the interaction between the two of them. Without Barbenheimer, Dead Reckoning would have dominated the summer season, probably, but it wouldn't have made the numbers of Fallout, maybe not even those of Ghost Protocol. Close enough though. It would have provided a false sense of security and everything would have blown over harder in the next movie. This failure might be the best thing that could happen to the Mission Impossible franchise. It's going to be hard though. Find a way to shake up a formula so established that you can't completely depart from it. There are a few noticeable examples of successful movies with chaotic shootings that involved rewrites every day. The truth is that they stand out precisely because they are a rarity. Most times, you need a finished, polished, tweaked, doctored, punch up, down, left and right script. The problem with writing your spy movie on the fly, with all those twists and turns typical of the genre, is that without the time for proper rewritings, the plot can become a tad convoluted. So you have to add an exposition scene at the beginning to clear things up. Masterfully directed and paced, but expositional nonetheless. And just to make things really clear, you follow the title credits with another expositional scene, again masterfully directed, to hold your audience attention, but so blatant in its text that reminds me of all those dialogues in network TV shows, designed to keep you on the loop even if you are washing the dishes and not paying attention to the screen. Then the truly odd choices arrive. The first thing Ethan and we see the character of Grace do is pickpocket the guy carrying the MacGuffin. The movie needs a bit of twisty action here, so this very long airport sequence doesn't feel long. So they add the threat of the suitcase bomb. Then they go back to Ethan and Grace. Luther gets her history and Ethan goes,
"She's a thief."
to remind the audience, because between the pickpocketing and this, we had this rapid-fire conversation between Luther and Benji. I understand it on principle, but come on, you see a woman pickpocketing in a busy airport. You get all this information about her? Luther says she's not a spy. And you conclude she's a thief? It makes Ethan look
So thick!
Unless this Captain Obvious stuff is a fundamental quirk of his personality.
Camels.
They definitely needed some time to rewrite that line. Something like, she's no ordinary thief either. So all of this actually helps Ethan arrive to some new information. At the same time, we remind the audience of the thieving for what the thieving and the pickpocketing actually means in the narrative. The setup for the next bit of the sequence,
You're a thief. You want the money, and I can give it to you.
and establish her character.
What, you don't trust me?
There is the entity too. You know, the main villain. The villain was supposed to be a guy operating a super sophisticated AI, then became a super sophisticated sentient AI. But again, the script is not beaten enough yet.
Times behaving like a computer virus, then a tapeworm, then a botnet.
Thousands of quadrillions of computations per millisecond.
And what did it do to all of these systems exactly?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Sending a very clear message. It has multiple personalities.
Is the entity an evil psychotic computer? Or is it an ultra-rational, ultra-effective machine? Is it both? because making it pivot between the two doesn't help any of the options. The riddles at the beginning turn to be, supposedly, a psychometric test to know about you. So the AI be able to calculate your future decisions? The entity already knows Benji is afraid of death, or it has a magic lie detector. So why did it need a psychometric test? In the end, seems to be a sadistic mind game.
Bastard.
The entity is underdeveloped, and even if it gets a coherent payoff in the second movie, we're in this one now. The gamble of the script was compensating this weakness with the supposed gravitas of the reveal about Ethan's past involving this guy, who is
The Dark Messiah, the entity's chosen messenger.
I know this is Ilsa's opinion, but it sets a tone. The artificial intelligence has a messiah? Really? And 2 minutes later in the same conversation,
You have to start thinking like it. Cold, logical, unemotional.
the cold, logical, unemotional messiah-choosing AI? What is it? Fanatism about tech and rationality can work, but not this way. If we have an all-powerful, ubiquitous, bodiless villain, at least we need to have a clear idea of what it represents, and the movie keeps giving us two separate options. Don't forget the entity also put itself in the party as this ominous big brother.
You're a drama queen.
Called logical and emotional drama queen? What is it? Can't you tell I really like this movie? Then we have
All communication.
It's electronic.
seriously, Ilsa freaking Faust heard of supposed MI6 agents that were worried about the UK government gaining control of the most powerful AI in the world, which can hack into anything. That's the one thing everybody knows for sure about it, and she didn't realize at any point that communicating electronically was a mistake, and if they were agents and the entity was just listening, it's the same, but with more people being morons. The script needed more beating. And then there is the
But
choice.
only after someone you care about dies.
I know Ethan was not going to say, listen, I met Grace a couple of days ago, Ilsa is way more important to me, and then shoot Grace himself to throw the entity off balance. But the scene puts both Ilsa and Grace in the same narrative level of importance, and that's just absolutely ludicrous. It deflates any real way the scene could have. Doubly so, because, as we already discussed, we know what's going to actually happen. Look, compared with Mission Impossible 2, the development of Ethan and Grace's relationship seems paced like a Jane Austen novel, but Ethan is just magically interested in her. He doesn't drool for her like I would, and they do have some moments challenging each other that would make him respect her. But he has this energy about him. I want to protect you above all things.
Are you okay?
No, Grace.
You okay? You okay? Are you okay?
Like a screenwriter told him she's going to be the next Ilsa, the next...
He's only been serious about 2 women.
Which is funny because I don't know if I had actually told you, the movie was shot without a complete script. Later on, this key moment...
You don't even know me.
What difference does that make?
would have hit harder if Ethan hadn't cared so much about her right off the bat. If the cat and mouse game, to trust or not to trust, hadn't been so one-sided. Relationships also have arcs, and without an arc, something like I just met you and you are intriguing and interesting, but I can't trust you. Definitely I can't. Okay, I'm pissed off with you now. Now you did something that makes me think there is a good side to you after all. When there's nothing like that, no change, the trust between the characters feels like a foregone conclusion. There's no catharsis there, no narrative weight. And good directing, good acting, good score, good sound, and good photography, all present here, are not enough to compensate for that. And finally, what's the point of the villain? What does the AI want? Control information? Be able to enslave humanity through fake news? seems pointless. You don't understand why it is so malignant. The story runs with it because the people that made the movie told themselves super AI are always evil. There's no reasoning, no fault in the AI's programming, nor a human pattern in its design that someone introduced as a failsafe but actually gave it aggressive tendencies. Not a fear of being destroyed, not even a calculated decision to survive. If the AI is half of what people say it is, it could exist forever and do its own thing without humans ever noticing. It could manipulate public opinion to be accepted before coming out. It could have done any number of things way less risky than this is. Again, an underdeveloped villain in an underdeveloped script. Imagine how good it could have been with a well-written script.